I didn't notice the cones until I couldn't T-park in front of my own house. 4 traffic orange pyramids stood in a neat row at the curb like tiny plastic bodyguards, shoulders squared against my driveway. A strip of yellow tape ran between them and fluttered politely in the morning breeze. It was a Tuesday, trash day, and the cones looked so official at first that my brain tried to make sense of them. Utility work, tree trimming, some secret race I hadn't trained for. Then I saw the handwriting on the pavement, fat chalk arrows pointing to the curb with a note scrawled in block letters, "Residents only." My coffee went cold in my hand. I turned and there she was. Karen, in a blazer at 8 a.m., sunglasses on top of her head like a headband of authority, a clipboard tucked into the crook of her arm. She stood in her driveway with the posture of a traffic cop on a magazine cover and gave me a wave that felt less neighborly greeting and more royal decree. "Good morning," she sang. "We're reserving this side of the street for residents. The landscapers keep blocking the view when they park across." "By we," I said. "You mean you and the cones?" She nodded. "The board voted to improve curb order." "The board can vote for pumpkins in July," I said, "but that doesn't make them summer squash. This is a public street." Karen's smile didn't flinch. "Our rules say no visual clutter and no hazards. Cones prevent both." "Cones are clutter," I said, "and the hazard is me backing into them if I pretend this is normal." She looked at the clock on her phone like she had trains to run. "I have a delivery between 8 and 10. They need curb space." "You can ask," I said. "You can put a chair out and hope for mercy. You can't claim the curb and write your own sign." "That's your interpretation," she said. "This is compliance." Behind us, my friend Dev rolled up to borrow my ladder and braked short, eyebrows rising at the orange blockade. "They filming a commercial?" he asked. "No," I said. "They're filming a lesson." I set my coffee on the hood of my car, pulled out my phone, and dialed the city's non-emergency parking and right-of-way line. The dispatcher was brisk and awake, the exact opposite of my coffee. I explained, cones in the right-of-way, no construction permits posted, no city signage, chalk on the street like we were 12 planning a parade. "Address?" she asked. I gave it to her. "Any vehicles blocked?" she asked. "Just the public's patience," I said. "Okay," she said. "That's an obstruction of right-of-way. We'll send an officer." "ETA?" I asked. She hesitated, typing. "We're around the corner," she said. 10 minutes. Karen heard officer, and that put a nick in her calm. "We're just trying to keep order," she said softer. "It's dangerous when trucks park in front of driveways." "It's dangerous," I said, "when people think cones make the law." Dev smirked. "You should embroider that on a pillow." At 8:12, a small white city truck turned onto the cul-de-sac and rolled to a stop like a punctuation mark. Officer Rosa, the same parking officer who once saved my guest S car from a tow, stepped out with her tablet and looked at the cones with the weary affection of a parent seeing crayons on a wall again. "Morning," she said. "What's the occasion?" "Board-approved curb order," Karen said quickly, stepping forward with her clipboard like a bribe of paper. "We need this side for residents and deliveries." Rosa scanned the curb, the tape, the chalk, the absence of anything with a city seal. She took a photo, another, then one pointed at the sky as if to ask the sun's opinion. "Ma'am," she said kindly, "these cones are obstructing public right-of-way. Unless there's an active permitted work zone or a special event permit with posted notices, you can't reserve the curb. That authority belongs to the city." Karen's sunglasses traveled from head to nose in a slow descent. "We're the HOA," she said, as if that were an incantation. "We have rules about visual clutter." "Your rules apply to private common areas," Rosa said, "not to streets dedicated to the city. The curb is not assignable by clipboard." Dev coughed to hide a laugh. I didn't bother. Karen tried again. We've had complaints about service trucks, RVs and guests, she said. People can't see backing out. Then request a parking study, Rosa said, tapping her tablet. The city can install time limits or no parking to corner signs based on sightlines, but ad hoc cones and chalk are not the process. She bent, picked up a cone and set it on the sidewalk. These can't be in the street. Do you want to move the others, or shall I? Karen stared at the cone as if it had betrayed her. We're just trying to be proactive. Proactive is great, Rosa said. Permits are better. She and I moved the other cones together. It took less time than arguing had. The yellow tape folded into Rosa's hand like dry spaghetti. She snapped a photo of the chalk message on the pavement, then rubbed it with her shoe until the letters blurred back into grey. What happens if someone puts them back? I asked. Rosa held up her printer. First time's a warning, she said. Second can be a citation for obstructing right-of-way. If cones cause damage or a near miss, it gets expensive. Karen winced at expensive the way people do who have budgets to defend. No one was hurt, she said. Good, Rosa said. Let's keep it that way. She printed a small warning slip. No lecture, just ordinance numbers and an invitation to call the city if we wanted to discuss residential permit parking. She handed it to Karen, who took it like a hot pancake and didn't know where to put the butter. 10 minutes, Dev whispered to me, checking his watch. Dispatch wasn't kidding. Rosa nodded to both of us and climbed back into her truck. If you see cones in the street without a permit sign, she said, call it in, we'll come. She drove off, the cones stacked in her bed like captured flags. I turned back to Karen. For the first time, she looked something other than sure. She looked tired. People are parking here and leaving cars for days, she said. Guests, workers. It's not a driveway museum. I get it, I said, gentler than I'd been. But you picked the wrong tool. Ask the city for time limits, put up official signs, or do what we used to do before cones, knock on a door. She looked at the blank curb, at the ghost of a chalk word. The board will discuss it, she said. That was as close to retreat as I'd ever seen her come. By lunchtime, the cones were a neighborhood myth. Priya texted a photo. R.I.P. Little Orange Dudes. Leah, our common sense board member, emailed a draft agenda item, curb use and city process, and Brent, the landscaping guy with a love affair for trucks, sent an all-caps email about street chaos, which I did not read because there are laws protecting my blood pressure. That evening, I put my trash cans out like a citizen. I parked on the street in front of my house because I could. No chalk notes appeared, no tape fluttered. Karen walked past with her dog and nodded once, the truce of people who have both been reminded that jurisdiction is the most boring word and the most useful. We'll look into the study, she said, for sightlines. I'll sign the petition, I said, and I'll help measure. 2 weeks later, a city engineer came with a wheel and a laser and the unimpeachable authority of a person who speaks in feet and angles. He measured sight distance from the corner, photographed the driveways, and recommended a no parking to corner, 30 feet sign on our block, and a 2-hour limit on weekday mornings. The city posted temporary flyers about the upcoming signs. The HOA blasted an email with the subject line, City Process for Curb Safety, and tucked in the second paragraph a sentence that made me smile. Until signs are installed, residents may not place cones or tape in the street. We never saw the orange pyramids again, at least not where cars go. One reappeared in Karen's yard as a planter, which is both poetic and very HOA. Transform a problem into decor and call it a day. Now, when I pull up to my house and see an honest, unclaimed curb, I think about those 10 minutes. The call, the truck, the officer, the cones marching off like naughty children. It didn't take a fight. It took a phone call and a rule everyone could point at. That is the difference between a neighborhood that feels like a battleground and one that feels like a place to live. A shared understanding that the street belongs to the city, and the city belongs to all of us.